Hello, my name is Nikita Sawlani, and I am a student at Benedictine University in the Masters of Nutrition and Wellness Graduate Studies program. This presentation is a review of an ergogenic aid, caffeine. Caffeine, also known as 1,3-trimethylxanthine, is a central nervous drug that helps to delay fatigue. Given caffeine's commonality, its role as a central nervous system stimulant, and its use to alter exercise performance, many athletes utilize caffeine as an ergogenic aid in sports competitions. It modifies the brain's behavior and cognitive state, as it is a psychological, physical, and psychoactive drug. Caffeine's stimulant effect in an athletic performance can increase one's alertness and improves cognitive performance. Its analgesic effect is also beneficial in sports with respect to pain or injury. Early lipolysis also occurs with caffeine supplementation, in which the body burns more fat. This occurs because caffeine causes fat stores to be utilized for energy at higher levels during exercise, while glycogen stores remain reserved for later use. Intramuscular transport of electrolytes sodium, potassium, and calcium are also increased with caffeine supplementation. With the increased electrolyte transport, nerves within the body's tissues and muscles fire excitedly and muscles contract. This correlates caffeine supplementation with increased endurance and strength performance in sports. The main mechanism of caffeine's ergogenic effect is acting as an adenosine receptor antagonist. Adenosine has two effects, at A1, where the neurons keep the brain awake, or at A2A, where neurons put the brain to sleep. During sleep, the brain replenishes its energy reserves and eliminates adenosine. Caffeine and adenosine molecular form are similar, and therefore, caffeine's binding can decrease the sensitivity of neurons to adenosine's binding. The body's breakdown of caffeine is dependent on genetics, and therefore caffeine can stay in one's system for between 2 to 4 hours. There have also been a few studies that found correlation between drinking a few cups of coffee a day and the slower onset of neurodegenerative diseases. However, it is still unclear how caffeine does this. When adenosine stimulates the A2A receptors on wake-up promoting neurons, those neurons increase in activity. A2A receptors are also found on other neurons and also increase their activity. The general mechanism of this idea is that in neurodegenerative diseases, these A2A neurons actually begin to become overworked and therefore die off. However, when caffeine binds to A2A receptors, it may actually allow those neurons to rest, making caffeine a neuroprotective agent. Therefore, caffeine can potentially act as a preventative measure in neurodegenerative disease. Caffeine's ergogenic effects of physiology also include the vasoconstriction of the coronary and cerebral, relaxation of smooth muscle, and decreased insulin sensitivity. At high levels, caffeine has also been associated with antioxidant properties, including the sequestering of free radicals and protection of cells from oxidative damage. Caffeine is also utilized by alveolar ventilation during exercise, which means that increased oxygen consumption during and after exercise enhances the production in tissues. Results from time trial studies have also supported anhydrous caffeine as improving physical performance. However, coffee's ingestion shows only few studies that support enhanced exercise performance. This is in contrast to pure caffeine ingestion, which has supporting evidence that improves exercise, but not when regular decaf plus anhydrous caffeine or decafs and a placebo are in use. Chlorogenic acids found in coffee antagonize adenosine receptor binding of caffeine and other physiological responses. This causes blunting to heart rate, blood pressure, and causes dose-dependent relaxation of smooth muscle. 95% of caffeine is metabolized by the CYP1A2 enzyme, which is coded by the CYP1A2 gene. Caffeine's effect on performance varies due to individual response. Unfortunately, these individual data reports are often overlooked in performance studies. Caffeine is absorbed by the stomach and small intestine within 45 minutes and reaches its peak plasma concentration in 30 to 90 minutes. It has a half-life of about 4 to 6 hours. There is very little support for caffeine's ergogenic effect on increasing fat oxidation or enhancing the sympathetic nervous system. However, caffeine supplementation research is known for its positive correlation to the ability to induce effects on both the central and peripheral nervous system in order to reduce pain and exertion perception, improve motor recruitment, and improve excitation-contraction couple. 90% of adults in America consume caffeine on a regular basis. Caffeine can be found in both regular and decaffeinated coffee, tea, soft drinks, energy drinks, chocolate, and certain medicines such as aspirin. After consumption of caffeine, whether through a supplemental capsule source or through a cup of brewed coffee, caffeine's physiological effect begins in the central nervous system as well as enters the bloodstream. Here you see a table that's regarding the intended user of caffeine supplementation. It compares the different supplement protocols in 8 peer-reviewed studies. In 3 of the studies, reference 2, 3, and 5, there were specifications for their effectiveness. In reference 2, there were 12 endurance-trained cyclists that were volunteering. This article wished to determine whether a low dose of caffeine would partially rescue the reduction in maximal self-selected power output observed when individuals commenced high-intensity interval training with low compared to normal glycogen availability. The reason that there is a specific effectiveness of this study was that caffeine enhanced power output independently of muscle glycogen concentration. However, it did not fully restore power output to levels equal to that of subjects commencing exercise with normal glycogen availability. However, the study did find the supplement effective for sports performance at low doses of caffeine, where ergogenic benefits were seen during high-intensity interval training. In the 3rd study by Martinez, the subjects were human adult athletes that were recreationally trained, low risk, and met minimum standards of physical activity as submitted by IPAC by the American College of Sports Medicine. The researchers were looking to determine the acute effects of caffeine. This was in containing pre-workout dietary supplements. The researchers were looking for the measures of performance, including anaerobic power, upper body power, lower body power, and upper body strength. Throughout the study, they did find that significant improvements were shown in anaerobic, peak power, and mean power. However, the caffeine dietary supplement in pre-workout showed no change in upper body power, lower body power, or upper body strength. This is the reason for the specificity in the effective column. The 3rd study that I noted was specific in its effectiveness was regarding the CYP1A2 genotype and endurance performance in athletes. The authors noted that a single nucleotide polymorphism had been shown to alter CYP1A2 enzyme activity and inducibility. This single nucleotide polymorphism had also been used to categorize fast or slow metabolizers of caffeine. Slow metabolizers have a higher risk of heart disease or prediabetes due to increased caffeine consumption. Throughout the study on whether or not the caffeine affects exercise performance throughout its ergogenic properties, the authors did find that the caffeine did work as a supplement, but only in the fast or AA genotype. Caffeine at recommended doses has a positive safety profile despite some adverse effects reported with its use. Heart rate increases as well as increased kidney activity because caffeine binds to adenosine receptor neurons in the body. Fatigue can also occur, mental distress, clinical toxicity, physiological symptoms, and addictive properties as well with overdose or overuse of caffeine supplementation. In a study from 2014, the effects of a placebo versus 2 caffeine doses on performance In a 10-minute all-out cross-country double polling ergometer test, 2 days in a row, as compared to prior successes in a one-day protocol testing, we're looking to see whether or not the consecutive days would affect the double polling in the ergometer test, as well as looking towards fatigue. This particular study utilized 2 different doses of caffeine, 3 mg per kilogram caffeine and 4.5 mg per kilogram caffeine, as well as a placebo. The 8 elite male cross-country skiers in the randomized crossover placebo-controlled double-blind study noted that they intook their caffeine or placebo 45 minutes before their warm-up or 75 minutes before their all-out cross-country skiing. In all participants but one, there were long-term concerns regarding creatine kinase and muscular pain and damage. Overall, each athlete had high creatine kinase levels at the end of the first and the second days of the trials. All participants noted that they did have higher muscular pain on day 2 after intake of the caffeine, despite having no pain on day 1. Another study from 2017 was looking to determine the efficacy of moderate dose of caffeine in improving repeat sprint performance in elite freestyle swimmers. This mechanism was especially important regarding the adenosine receptor antagonist. However, the participants did find themselves complaining of forced muscle contractions and acidosis. This was due to a greater blood lactate concentration after ingesting the caffeine. Here is Table 2, the comparison of effectiveness of caffeine on sports performance in 8 peer-reviewed studies, in which I described the usage protocol of caffeine supplementation. Certain research reports that daily caffeine intake of up to 400 milligrams per day, or about 6 milligrams per kilogram body weight, can increase athletic performance. Adults consuming 12.5 to 100 milligrams of caffeine are associated with positive effects in their body type. In the studies that are shown in Table 2, there is only one that dictated that the timing of the supplement, the form of supplement, and the participants with the reference were not effective regarding caffeine supplementation. This particular study was using 6 male competitive runners to examine the effects of energy shot consumption on time trial performance in trained runners. Despite the blinding being successful of this randomized placebo-controlled crossover trial, the performance was not different between the 3 treatments. The 3 treatments of caffeine and placebo were 140 milligrams of caffeine, 80 milligrams of caffeine, and a placebo. One of the reasons that this study did not support the effectiveness of caffeine was because the dosage was below the threshold for caffeine ergogenic response, which has been reported as 1.43 milligrams per kilograms to 2.5 milligrams over kilograms. The study was also a single-blind crossover placebo-controlled randomized study. This is different from many of the other studies in which I looked at. This basically meant that the participants in the study knew the study's purpose. Another study also was looking at examining the effects of caffeine supplementation on multiple sprint running performance. 21 male volunteer students from the sports science department of the university were involved in this particular study. It was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial in which there were 4 trials that the participants had to take part in. The results were that the caffeine did have ergogenic properties with potential to benefit single and multiple sprint sports performances. However, some short-term side effects were that there was a loss of motivation between the participants because they were enduring high-intensity running trials. In addition, some long-term concerns also included fatigue and increased blood lactate levels. In 2004, the World Anti-Doping Agency moved caffeine from the restricted list to its monitoring program. However, caffeine is still a restricted substance by the National Collegiate Athletic Association, NCAA, where a positive doping test would be a caffeine level of 15 grams per milliliter of urine. New evidence shows that caffeine, when used in moderation, does not cause dehydration or electrolyte imbalance. Athletes are allowed up to 12 micrograms of caffeine per milliliter of urine before being considered illegal. The NCAA legal limit is 15 micrograms per milliliter of urine. Here, you also see an estimation of the monthly supplemental cost for a caffeine supplement. Utilizing the search function in the NSF website, I was able to find information regarding C4, Cellucor Sport, and Red Bull Original, both of which are NSF certified, free of banned substances caffeine supplements. In C4 Cellucor Sport, the serving size is 1 scoop, which is 9 grams. The supplement form is a powder, and it contains 30 servings per container. One container costs $24.99. For 1 month, each serving separately would actually cost 83 cents. So, totaling a 30-day cost, it would be $24.99 in order to utilize this caffeine supplement. On the other hand, Red Bull's serving size is a 12 ounce or 355 milliliter. The supplement form is a liquid beverage, and its one container costs $9.85. However, there are 4 servings or 4 liquid beverages per container cost. This means that each serving costs about $2.46. This would total your estimated monthly supplement cost of caffeine from Red Bull to being $73.80. Some final thoughts I have are that caffeine has the potential to be useful for athletes, especially before long-duration or endurance sports. This is based off the 8 peer-reviewed journal articles that I studied and reviewed in this presentation. These studies have generally found caffeine supplementation to compete with adenosine receptors in order to produce any effect of positive or negative. Especially in repeated single and multiple sprints, caffeine has shown to improve sports performance. Finally, the ingestion of caffeine between 20 to 90 minutes prior to exercise can reduce the usage of carbohydrates and glycogen stores and improve endurance capacity. However, it is important to keep in mind the minimum and the maximum dosages of caffeine in order to cause positive effects in athletic performance. For further information regarding caffeine's role as an ergogenic aid, please take note of the reference studies and textbooks listed here. Each peer-reviewed source was retrieved from PubMed access to online journals, and aside from the Cengage Learning text, were all published after 2007. The tables included in this presentation were based off these studies and reviewed for quality, validity, and reliability. Thank you for your patience and your attention.